Hello friends, and welcome back to a new video. I am so glad you are here today. If you are new, my name is Maritza. I am an elementary school teacher, and in today's video, I will be sharing with you guys some teacher classroom must-haves. It is a back to school season, and I know at this time of year in August, yes, August already, I am hunting and looking and shopping for all the things that are just gonna make my life a little bit easier, some cute things and some productive things. So I am all about that. Making your life a little bit simpler and more productive is always my go-to. So I know how busy it can get throughout the year. So here it is, some teacher classroom must-haves. I hope that these come useful to you guys. So don't be afraid to share down in the comments some things that you found in the past that have worked really well for your classroom. I'd love to start sharing that on here and being able to reach more teachers. So welcome to a new video. Let's dive right in. So I have my iPad here ready to share with you guys all the things that I have listed, because I know I will forget if I just try to name them off the top of my head. So I wrote them all down, and these are just kind of things that have come across throughout the years and just have been my go-to all the time. Some things that are new that I've tried this past year. I just think it's really helpful to have like my list, my go-to things that I use and that make me more productive during the year, because time goes by really fast, planning time goes really fast. So anything to make life a little bit simpler and more productive and getting things done within the work hours, I am all for it. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video and find some things that are useful. Let me know down in the comments what you are using, what you're gonna try. I'd love to know, and also share that with everybody else on here. So I'm gonna go ahead and start with the very first thing. The very first thing on my list is a teacher planner. Whether you have a digital planner or a planner, a paper pencil, paper pen, all the colorful pens, because I love colorful pens. Planners are super important. Some kind of planning tool to help you plan out your lessons. Now, it doesn't have to be super thorough on your lesson planning on your paper or your digital, just something kind of a layout to help you plan out your week. Whether it's meetings, conferences, all the things should go in your planner. I have in the past loved using my Happy Planner, but there are so many fantastic small businesses, so many different planners out there that you can use. There's not a particular one that I don't love. I feel like there's all of these different planners that have different attributes to them that are fantastic. So just get yourself a planner that's gonna meet your needs throughout the year. And digital planning is also a really great tool. I use digital planning on here on my iPad as well, and I've done it in the past in other schools and other states. So just kind of making a balance on what planner suits you better is super important and going to save you so much time, because we have tons of things in our heads going on. There's meetings, there's just tons of to-do lists, tons of things going on. So just being able to like jot it down somewhere is super resourceful. And then you can always go back to it the previous year to kind of look at what you did in the prior year. So it's kind of like a diary, and then you house everything on there, and it's useful for when you need to look back at it. So I have a previous video where I put together my Happy Planner. I believe it was last summer, and I absolutely loved it. I love paper, pen, jotting, being able to like have my planner with me at school. So, and then whenever I have a sub, I always like lay it out so that at least the sub knows kind of a layout of what each, like the overview of the lesson is. Of course, I have my sub plans, but it's just really nice to have somewhere where you can just like an overview. And I also use my planner just to jot down my ideas. So for example, if I'm going through an ecosystem lesson, I kind of jot down what my overview of the lesson is. So if we're watching a video and we're doing the lab, we're doing the note taking. So it's kind of an overview, just jotting down of the main idea of what we're doing for that lesson that I put on my paper planner. Now, anything I turn in has a much thorough explanation with objectives, standards, all of that good stuff. So that mainly I do on my digital planner, on plan book, and then I send it out to my administration or my team. So it kind of is helpful to have both, just because some things are just a little bit easier to use, but do whatever meets your needs and whatever suits you. Like, that's my number one thing. If it works for you, just use it. If you need 2 to 3 planners, do it. All right, the second thing I have here is a cordless hot glue gun. Oh my goodness, I can't even tell you how many times a cordless hot glue gun is so much better than a cord one. I mean, it's just like a time saver. And of course, it's in the word cordless. You can take that anywhere with you. It's super easy to use if you're out in the hallway, if you're out at the very top of like the ceilings and the cord doesn't reach. That is just the most stressful thing and so annoying. So get yourself a cordless hot glue gun. They're super affordable on Amazon, and I want to say they're at Michael's, but if you go on Amazon, you can also visit my storefront, and there will be a link down in the description box, as well as for all of these things that I've mentioned in this video. And they're super affordable, and you can use that for your classroom setup throughout the year, hanging up student work. It's just so much easier to have that handy, and it just makes it go a little bit faster, and without having to like stress, where's the cord, where's the plug? It's just a hot mess when you've got to deal with all of that. All right, the third thing I have here is a laminator, and get yourself some laminating paper. If you are not yet part of that, doing all of that stuff, I highly recommend it. I know most schools have laminators, but having your own personal laminator is so handy. And something that you can also ask families at the beginning of the year is to donate laminating paper, and it just becomes so handy when you're laminating student work, stations, all of that stuff. You don't always necessarily want to send it out to get laminated through the big laminator. You want a more durable laminator. So I always tell my friends, get yourself like those little laminators and get laminating paper, and you can just do it on your own. I have one at home, and then I have one here. At first I didn't. I had one just at school, and then I had one, I just like commuted it back and forth from home to school. But having 2 is not necessary, of course, but it is super handy, because some things you just print out really quick and throw it in the laminator, and there you go. It makes it so much simpler and easier, and the quality and the durability of that is so much better than it would be in the school big laminator, because it's a lot thinner paper. So I just use that for everything. My stations, I use it for hanging up artwork. I use it for hanging up things in the classroom, my lettering, labeling, just about everything. It's super useful. All right, the next thing that kind of goes along with it is a paper cutter. So there's a couple different brands, and they're all pretty well. Like if you go on Amazon and you see the top picks, there's a brand called Swingline, and that one is super good. I love my paper cutter. All of my colleagues also come to me and they borrow my paper cutter all the time, and it's just really useful when I'm making my stations and laminating things. I'm cutting it and putting it all together. It just kind of makes it easier when you have all the things in your classroom available to you. You just make yourself a little station and you do all the things, and then you're good to go without having to take everything with you to the teacher workroom and doing all the things in there. And it could be busy sometimes. My previous school had like 5 paper cutters, so that was really neat. And some of them are much more durable, but like for the classroom, you just need kind of like a simple paper cutter, especially if I'm cutting out paper for different stations or multiple groups like I did last year. It's so easy just to slice it in half, my papers, and passing out the notes. But it becomes super useful throughout the year instead of just cutting it with your normal scissors, and it's really useful. All right, the next thing I have here is a teacher toolbox. Now, this was super popular a while back, and it was all over the place. and there's so many cute little designs out there for Teacher Toolbox. If you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a little box or little toolbox literally, and it's kind of known, I feel like it originated from like when you're using it in your garage, like where you keep all these screws and all those things. I feel like that's where it came from. Might have not been, I don't know, but that's kind of what it reminds me, because my dad works in the garage. He does his things and painting and all the things. So that's what where I originally saw it. So in a Teacher Toolbox, it's kind of the same concept, but what you're keeping inside is all the little things that are probably scattered on your desk and in your drawers. I know I used like little bins before to put in my desk, but once I discovered the Teacher Toolbox, it became so much easier, and like the look is so cute. So you're gonna keep all of your thumbtacks, all the little miscellaneous things, let's see, tape, all the things you can think of, command hooks, all of those things go in that drawer. And I always kept mine behind my desk or near my desk area so that I could have easy access to it. And then I labeled them. I bought a little label template, and then I put them on there. And even my students knew like where to get the things. If I needed thumbtacks, they knew what drawer to grab it from, and everything was just like easy to grab and right there for you, and it looked nice. So I highly recommend getting a little Teacher Toolbox, and they come in different colors, and there are tons of different templates on Teachers Pay Teachers or even online. The next thing I have here is heavy duty command hooks. Or magnetic hooks, sorry. So heavy duty magnetic hooks, and these come really, really handy to hanging up just about anything. If you're hanging up tags, if you're hanging up anchor charts, if you're hanging up book bags, like it's super, super handy to have the heavy duty magnetic hooks. I know they're super popular when it comes to anchor charts, because you want to be able to put multiple of them and layer them like that way, and then just hang them up. That's what I use mine for, and they were super resourceful. They have different types of hooks. They have the ones that are the actual hook, and then the ones that snap like a chip holder. So those are both really great and super useful. Having like a few of them, and if you have multiple boards, try to get like a couple sets so that it's easy to hang up your things on whichever board that you're gonna use, and it doesn't fall down, it stays there, and you're not struggling with things falling off the walls or it just not staying up. So those are really, really great and very, very useful. The next thing I have here is getting a very reliable stapler. So there are tons of staplers. This past year, for some reason, I just went through multiple staplers. So I was quite disappointed, and the one stapler I had disappeared for a while, and that was my only good stapler. So getting yourself a good stapler and putting your name on it is a must-have because I hate going through the year and not being able to staple my things when I'm passing out things and not having a good stapler. It gets jammed. It's super annoying. There's one teacher I found recently that does designs, and you can put, I believe it's like a tumbler design, like what you put the tumbler, but she does it for staplers. So I'll be sure to maybe insert like a little video or a clip of her design for staplers, and it's just super cute. She also does it for eraser boards, so that could be something you consider, but get yourself a good stapler. I'll also list a couple in my Amazon storefront of some staplers I recommend because they do go out, especially if you have multiple classes or you're using a lot of packets, notebooks, things like that. I used to staple things in my students' notebooks all the time, and I had over 90 students this past year because we were departmentalized, and I would staple things in their notebook. Speaking of that, I also had a stapler for my students. So I had one for myself in my desk area, one out front so I could help students, and then one in the student center. So when students were done, they can go and staple their notes or whatever we were working on into their notebooks. So maybe having a couple different staplers is pretty useful depending on how fast or how much time you have, but I found it super easy for students to staple their things, especially in upper elementary. They are pretty responsible. So they were able to staple their things into their notebook, and sometimes they would make their own notes or flashcards and they would staple them in their notebooks just so that they wouldn't lose them. So that was really helpful, but having at least one really good stapler when you're gonna staple things to like your walls if you're allowed to, or doing crafts, things like that, is super helpful. There's nothing more horrible than having a broken stapler, or the stapler won't open for you to staple on the wall or something. So get yourself at least one good stapler. All right, my next thing on my list for a teacher classroom must-have is a good sharpener. Get a really good sharpener. There are a couple brands that I love, and I'm trying to remember what brand our school got, but they gifted us some sharpeners and it worked so great. And there was a couple on Instagram that were out like toward the end of last year, and they were all over Instagram, super popular. But one I do recommend is the Acto, and these sharpeners are like amazing. They're super quiet. You just stick the pencil in for like 3 seconds and it instantly sharpens that pencil, no matter what type it is. Because the problem I was having before was that depending on the type of pencil or the brand, it wouldn't sharpen. It was so frustrating. Students without pencils, and we were there with the student's personal little sharpener with our hand. It was absolutely frustrating to have pencils broken sometimes, but this pencil sharpener like absolutely saved us throughout the year, because it was within seconds that the pencil was sharpened. And it was a big bonus that the sharpener was so quiet. I mean, you cannot even hear it sharpening. It was amazing. So I highly recommend getting a pencil sharpener that is worth your money, worth your time, and going to be effective for all the types of pencils we have coming through. All right, I'm getting almost to the last of my list, but the next thing I have here are Astro Brights. Butcher or paper, or even getting like cardstock, colorful cardstock. So throughout the year, you just never know what you need it for, but it also comes really useful for beginning of the year decorations, putting up things, putting up classroom rules, and just for different situations. The Astro Brights and the cardstock come really handy for anything that you can't print in color. So our school didn't provide us with a color printer, and I do have a color printer at home, but when it comes to passing out things or handouts, or even announcements going to be sent home, I didn't have enough color printing to print out for 90 students or for a lot of classes. So having the color paper is really great, and it's also really durable if you're doing decorations in your classroom. Being able to hang it up in a colorful paper is a lot better than just like a black and white paper, and of course the durability of it is so much better. So I highly recommend having a couple different stacks of the Astro Brights, or having some cardstock handy in the back of your desk. And I always organize mine in colors. So there are like bins or cubbies, I would say. It kind of looks like the ones back here, but they're really a lot thinner, and they just hold the paper. Those are really nice. I've always wanted some of those and be able to organize my paper that way. But I just simply put it in my drawer, and I had the file folders that opened up, and then I just stacked them up or organized them by color, and it was super easy throughout the year to pick a color and grab it and go and create my things and send it off. So having those two things were super useful throughout the years. All right, the last thing on my list, that makes it 10 things, is the dry erase pocket sleeves. The dry erase pocket sleeves are so handy, especially if you have multiple classes. I use my dry erase sleeves for just about everything, every single day. I used them in stations throughout the years when I taught younger grades. I've used them in small groups. I've used them in this past year. I used it for each table, and then I used it for articles. We did note taking on there and answering questions. there are so many different ways to use the dry erase pocket sleeves, and you just set your paper inside and erase. And I just had the students quickly erase it before we switched classes. It was so useful, and it eliminated from making so many copies. That was my biggest thing. I didn't want to have to make so many copies and have to keep up with all this paper because it's not really necessary. And if the classes are going to use them and I don't need to collect it, then that makes it so much easier just to have the dry erase pockets. Even making one class set, you can still recycle it for the next class and each student can have their own. So makes it super easy, and there are so many different ways to use it in the classroom. Like I said, small groups, individual one-by-one. You can work with students on correcting. There are multiple ways to use those. So if you have those, great. And just if there's also little hacks to be able to clean them, because I know they do get dirty, but there are really easy hacks to be able to really clean them really well for the next year. So those are on my list for my classroom teacher must-haves, and that is it. Those are my 10 things. All right, friends, that is it for this video today. I hope you guys enjoyed it and had some inspiration taken from this video, some ideas that you're gonna take with you this coming school year. I'd love to know if you're gonna use any of these things, or if you already are using them, fantastic. Let me know down in the comments below. I'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, if you have any video requests, make sure you let me know down in the comments. I'd love to create a video that fits your needs and that you will enjoy watching. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure you give it a big thumbs up. Lets me know you're enjoying the content that I'm sharing with you, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.